Let's f***ing roll.
Welcome back to McBastard Studio. You're listening to the Salty MF Goat podcast. Today we're really excited to have Rob Cain at SeaAgri Solutions with us. Rob is known as the Salt Man. And today we're going to learn about sea salt and all the applications. He's one of the saltiest guys I know. We've met several times, and I wanted to have him on the show. And so Rob Cain, welcome to the show, bud.
Thank you, Brad. I'm really pleasure to be here. My mission in life is to share this information with everyone that'll listen.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, you and I were talking about it, and growing up, I was, we were always told, table salt, don't eat too much table salt. It's bad for you. It's bad for cholesterol, your heart, things like that. But you kind of founded a kind of a unique blend of sea salt with SeaAgri Solutions, and I think you guys are calling it Baja Gold, right? And you started kind of in several areas that I never would have thought like salt would have been applied to farming, gardening. So tell us a little bit about, why you have such a passion for this, and then some of the things that you're doing in the different areas.
Well, Brad, it all revolves around human health. Yeah. And I was one of those people that took the salt shaker off of my table too for years. But yeah. I think the thing is that we were getting enough sodium in processed food, which we were all eating before. I mean, now we're cleaning up our eating habits and having less processed food, so we're getting less salt, just sodium chloride. That's another thing we need to talk about, because salt, everybody sees salt as sodium chloride. But in the periodic table, I mean, your listeners, even if you were half asleep in chemistry class, you remember the periodic table.
Yep.
And the periodic table has over 120 elements. But of those, 92 of them are actually inorganic salts. Wow. So we're not just sodium chloride. We have calcium, we have magnesium, we have all these different things. But when we took that salt shaker off the table, we started taking supplements for these minerals. Right. And everybody's taking supplements. And the reason that we're taking supplements is because the food is deficient in these minerals and trace elements that are necessary for human health.
Right.
And the process that we've developed is actually putting the minerals and trace elements back into the soil, and then the plants take up those minerals and trace elements and make the food more nutritious. We call it nutrient dense.
Right.
So we're getting all of the minerals and trace elements that are necessary for life that way. But the thing to understand is that sodium chloride, actually food-grade salt is what they call it, is 97 to 99% sodium chloride.
Right.
And that is bad for you.
Right.
But if you have a true sea salt that's made from seawater, naturally dehydrated, we've gotten the sodium chloride content down as low as 72%.
Right.
And so we have 28% of those other 92 minerals and trace elements.
Right.
And all of those minerals and trace elements were once in our soil. I mean, I like to draw the picture of like all the land that we farm today, all the land that we walk on today was once under the ocean. And when the oceans receded, all of that land had all of these 92 inorganic salts because they originate in rock. Right. When rain comes down from the heavens and it falls upon the rock, it actually breaks it down minutely, and these minerals and trace elements are released, and they go into the rivers, they go into the aquifer, and then they eventually go back to the ocean. Right. So in the beginning of time, the ocean was actually less salty than the land. Yeah. And then over time, it became what it is today. Right. But if you look back at history and you think about dinosaurs, and a dinosaur as big as this building was eating only vegetation and living for who knows how long, we don't really know. There was something really special going on with the soil and with the plant material that animal was eating. And we believe that it was the minerals and trace elements in their perfect form.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and so basically, by putting, our first emphasis, my first emphasis in doing the business was to get the soil remineralized. And it was interesting because I learned about that from an MD who had discovered it back in the 1940s. I was fortunate enough to work with him in the 1970s, and he patented the process actually, where he, putting the mineral salts onto agricultural land and then raising products, grains and corn and beans and all that with it, and then feeding that to livestock, and proved that the livestock actually did better.
Right.
And so that was my main emphasis from the very beginning when I started the business in 2000, and it kind of grew organically. I had people started using it, and they were very pleased with the outcome. not just as a sole fertilizer. They were still using nitrogen and phosphorus because their nitrogen in the ocean is fixed by blue-green algae, and it's a gas. And so, but there's actually enough nitrogen in the atmosphere. I think our atmosphere is over 90% nitrogen, and floating around, so plants can take that up. But phosphorus is a very limiting element because it doesn't stay in solution. So in ocean water, we have all of these 92 elements in what we call nature's perfect proportions. If any element is out of proportion, it just precipitates out and goes to the bottom of the ocean. So when the seawater comes into our location down in Baja, Mexico, we trap it in retention ponds, and then the sun bakes off the water, and what we're left with is these mineral salts.
That's great.
Yeah, and it's all, the only energy that we expend is just to move it.
Yeah.
It all comes into us naturally by tide, by the phases of the moon, and it's a natural area that's a delta from the Colorado River, which isn't flowing anymore. So it's all alluvial floodplain. It's just enriched in many, many different ways.
So you guys, when you take, I know we've talked a little bit about obviously farming. I knew my in-laws had cows for a while, so we'd always have the salt lick. The cows would love that. They'd have the block of salt that they would lick. So how did you start I know you've got some products you'll show us later on, but how do you start, what do you do to the salt itself, if anything, if you're going to, apply it to, just say a garden? Say somebody locally has a, half-acre garden and they want to use this to enrich the soil. What is that? How does that application work?
It's incredibly simple. A pound per 100 square feet. And what I always tell folks is just to mark off a 10 by 10 area and take a pound and attempt to spread it evenly over that area. And you'll find out you'll be like, that it can't be enough.
Right.
It's too little. But the thing with the minerals and trace elements is we don't need a lot of them. We just need them.
Right.
And with the business, I was saying before about how I started out promoting it to agriculture, and it was interesting because the Amish became my number one customers. They were the basic farmers of the United States. They totally got it.
Yeah.
And they started spreading it, and then all of a sudden I started getting phone calls, and they're saying, "Hey, this stuff looked like a good mineral salt," and I started feeding it to my cows, and my cows are doing better than they ever have. Can you get it approved for, it's all organically approved. Can you get it approved for feeding the cattle? So I got it approved for feeding the cattle. And then I had another customer who called me up and he goes, "Hey, I started dissolving this because it looked like it was water soluble, and it dissolved, and I've been spraying it on my crops and they're flourishing. Can you get it approved as a foliar fertilizer?" Yeah. So it kind of grew organically into those different areas. Right. And then the third thing that happened was I had these guys calling me up and saying, "Hey, my cows are doing great, my fields look great, and I've been tasting this when I go out to the barn, and I love it. And my wife won't use it because it's coming out of a fertilizer or a mineral bag. Yeah. Can you put it in something else?" And I said, "Well, yeah, I can, but it's going to be more expensive." And they go, "Don't worry about it, just do it." So that's how Baja Gold actually came to exist.
That's amazing.
Yeah, so it was all just kind of grew naturally and organically. It was really, really a beautiful thing.
That's incredible. So you were telling me before we were talking about, if I'm all jacked up today, my wife made some kind of cayenne pepper contraption with honey and whatever for me to drink to give you energy. And by the way, it's working, honey. Good job. But you were talking about you'll take something every morning kind of as an energy boost. How does you just drink it? What do you do?
Well, I read a book probably about 15 years ago. It was called Water and Salt, and it was written by some Austrian homeopathic physicians, and they were all about Himalayan pink salt. And I read it, and I thought what they were doing was they were actually dissolving the salts in water and making a super saline solution, and taking a teaspoon of that twice a day or once or twice a day. And the idea behind this is that basically our bodies are creating cells, and cells are dying every second. Right. They say within 7 years every cell in our body is replaced. So if we get these minerals and trace elements into our bloodstream and they're all present and accounted for, when cell division occurs, cell division should occur perfectly, and our immune system should be working at peak efficiency. And getting back to Dr. Murray and his original research, we should be our immune system should be healthy, and he was concerned about human health and how he was seeing so many sick people and wondering why they were sick, traced it back to the soil and to the crops. So I made this solution up. Well, first of all, I looked at the internet and I said, "What's the analysis of Himalayan pink?"
Yeah.
And Himalayan pink was 94% sodium chloride. So if you look at a volume of 100 and it's not 90% or 94%, you're 6 to 10% other minerals and trace elements. Plus, Himalayan pink salt is coming from a earth source, which has been subjected to leaching. It's from an ancient sea, but it was an ancient sea a long time ago.
Right.
So it's not balanced like the Baja Gold or something from the sea. So the analysis was completely off. And so I said, well, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to use our salts, obviously the Baja Gold.
Yeah.
So I made up the solution and I started taking it myself. I didn't know what it was going to do to me. So I took it every day for a year, and I'm going to conferences, shaking hands with people, getting exposed to all kinds of stuff. And I didn't get sick for a whole year. I didn't get a cold. I'm thinking, wow, knock on wood, another year goes by, nothing. I said, okay, well, I've got to make this and share it with the world, if I can. So I started making it up, and it became our Soleil solution, which is what they called it too, was Soleil. Yeah. So it's Baja Gold Soleil solution. So I take that and mix it with a little. I was taking apple cider vinegar every day for probably about 6 years before that, just a teaspoon of it. I haven't done the cayenne pepper part of that, but that may be something I need to add.
It gave me some energy.
Yeah, but I think once you get the minerals, trace elements in your body, it slows down the aging process. I mean, if you don't get sick, who has time to be sick?
Right.
Nobody. And then it's just, I think the aging occurs because basically of mineral deficiencies, minerals and trace element deficiencies.
And it makes sense. Even if, from a naturalist perspective or even processing, so much of our food's processed and it's terrible for you.
Yeah.
And so there's no mystery to that. It's not good for you. So I think if you can get back to the closest of what it was supposed to be, as you're saying, and what you guys are doing, the process is pretty clean. You're not doing a lot of mixing or any kind of chemicals with it. So, it makes sense. I think a lot of people we've been taught all of these things about, hey, look, exercise is good for you, whether you like to exercise or not. It's good for you. Eating a balanced meal, not overdoing it is good for you. So things like these natural things that are coming back, I know why. I personally know why I think they've been buried, but that way you can't make money on pharmaceutical products or other products that people make. So so how do people get this if they want to get it? I know you guys have predominantly sold through like distributors. You're in Tractor Supply, is that correct? So where's some of the areas, if you're just a consumer, not necessarily for the gardening side or that side, want to get some of these products and try them out?
Well, Amazon.
Okay.
We're on Amazon. All of our products are on Amazon, and then our website, SeaAgri.com, and Baja Gold Baja Gold Salt Company. They just changed the name recently. Company.com, co.com.
So how long? Obviously you're passionate about health, and you're in great shape. I don't know how old you are. I don't ask all that stuff, but you're physically in great shape, mentally in great shape. How long have you been at this particular this cause? Because I know you're passionate about it. So was that 20 years ago? How long has that been that you kind of got involved in this passion?
Well, it really happened 50 years ago.
50 years ago.
Yeah, and then it kind of.
So you're 50. You're 55 now.
Yeah, my bio age is calculated at 53, but I took a sabbatical from it. Kind of went out into the wilderness for a while, and then came back and resurrected the technology in 2000.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so it's been a lifelong. It was my mission in life. I just couldn't complete it until some things happened that made it possible for me to actually move forward.
That's usually how life occurs, though. People always ask. They'll say, I've been an entrepreneur most of my life, and so when you start things, and people are like, "Oh, is this going to take off?" And I'm like, "We'll see in 5 years."
Yeah.
And they're like, "What?" I'm like, everything I've ever done, you can't really tell whether something's really going to be a success or a hit. You got to give it 5 years.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so the good things in life, I think, come out in a lifelong passion like you've had. You're talking 50 years, half a century, kind of dedicating your time to this. So I think that's salty. That's why Rob is called the Salt Man. Persistence, grittiness, determination. That is definitely that's amazing.
Well, one of the benefits that I really had was this Dr. Murray wrote a book called Sea Energy Agriculture. And that book was in publication since 1976. And so when I first decided to revisit this technology and see if it would be something that would be accepted by right then the organic farming community. Right. I contacted some people, actually the publisher, Acres USA, that had the book, and they said, yes, absolutely. People are just waiting for you to show up with the product. So it wasn't really a situation where I had to create something and create a market for it.
Right.
I went and gave seminars at a couple of big conferences for Acres USA, and I just went home and answered the phone.
Awesome.
And I didn't ever have to make a cold call. I mean, literally for 20 years, all I did was answer the phone and talk to people about. They were asking me, "What about this stuff? Why is it special? Why does my neighbor's crops look so good and mine don't?"
Right.
And and the other thing I want to stress is that also with these minerals and trace elements that we're missing from our food and everything else, you can take supplements, but supplements don't provide it in this natural balance.
Right.
And the real key to life is the microbes, the biome in our gut, the microbes in the soil, and the microbes in animals. And like a cow has 3 stomachs. And when the good guys are winning in the gut, everything gets better. Human health gets better, and they're the first ones that feast on these minerals and trace elements. Wow. When we do experiments where we create biological solutions for agriculture, and in a 5-gallon bucket of a biological solution, just adding 1 teaspoon in a 24 hours, we double the microbial activity over what we would have without it.
That's crazy.
It's mind-boggling.
So even in this IBS world, the irritable bowel syndrome, like a lot of people seem to, you're talking about the gut, and I've been reading a little bit, not a ton, but about how, if your stomach's not right, your gut's not right, it throws everything off. I mean, I'd be curious if like even around, I'm not a doctor, so anything we're talking about here to, consult your physician or whatever, but like, I'm wondering from just like if people that are suffering from IBS, just taking some of this, some of your product or sea salt, if that can, be kind of something to help them get through it. Because I know people that have that, and it's like, it's horrific.
Yes.
Like it changes their whole, lifestyle, So I'm just curious because that seems like what you're talking about makes a lot of sense, even targeted to a specific, medical issue.
It can. I mean, we're putting back minerals and trace elements that aren't there. And I think the whole idea of getting the biology correct in the gut is so important. Yeah. And I mean, another part of that is Roundup. I mean, Roundup Ready crops. You have to stop eating soy and corn that's produced non-organically. Right. I think that would be a first step. And then once the gut starts getting right, working with these minerals and trace elements in the solution, or even putting it in the food that you eat, anything like that can be very, very helpful.
Well, I always look at the credibility of something like a product or anything like by the person who's using it or created it. And I mean, you're in amazing shape. You're mentally sharp, physically sharp. I mean, that says something to me. Like when I see people doing things, and I'm like, their actions are kind of telling, right? What they do, how they live. And I think, products like this, or it's not really, it's been around, so this is not new. It's not something we just made up, which is cool. I mean, definitely, I'm gonna. You gave me some samples. You want to show a little bit like what samples you gave me, because I'm gonna definitely do some of this. So this, like, if you're like gardeners, I know a ton of people have small gardens or growing beans, tomatoes, stuff like that. What kind of things should they look for?
Well, what we find, and this is the product here. This is our foundation. This is basically just our sea salt in a bag for the garden.
Yeah.
Okay, and we put it out at 1 pound per 100 square feet. You can also dissolve it and put 1 teaspoon in a gallon of water. Spray it on the plants. Water your starts with it. But our main goal is to remineralize the earth and get the microbes right in the soil and get the plants taking up these minerals and trace elements. And what folks will see is that the plants are healthier, they produce better, and like I was saying about myself, that I didn't get a cold for a year. The plants are not affected by insects or diseases once you get these minerals and trace elements built up, because the brix goes up in the plants, which is sugars, which is minerals, and when the brix goes up, the insects can't eat it because they don't have pancreases, and they avoid it. So God put the insects here to wipe out the weak.
Yeah.
And when you use a product like this and you get the soil built back up, you get the plants mineralized and healthy, you don't see the problems that you see in the typical garden, and you don't have to use insecticides. You don't have to use fungicides.
All the pesticide companies are going to come after us on salty
Right,
MF. Whatever, man. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah,
that's
Monsanto.
We're going to be blocked. This is going to be blocked. So that's cool. So that's definitely easy to apply too. It's not like something you got to do. Mix it in water and spray it.
Real easy. And we also have it in blocks for horses and cows and sheep and all that. And we actually put it in the water that they drink too. And any way we can get this product into them, they get healthier. Yeah. And in cattle, we see fertility is one of the things that we've really seen improve. And I don't know what trace elements or whatever combination it may be, but I had so many cattlemen calling me, telling me that they had 100% conception. Right. They had no open cows, which is just, I mean, that's money in the bank.
Yeah.
When you got an open cow, it's what do you, I got to feed this guy and they're not, or her and not even producing for me. So they
our new shirt is not shooting blanks.
Yes,
that's going to be the new SeaAgri.
Yeah, there's a good one. Yeah,
the Baja Gold, not shooting blanks. I love it.
Yeah. Save your bulls.
That's great.
So and just so in the garden we see a healthier plant, less insect and disease pressure. In the cattle and sheep and whatever animal it might be, you just see that they're healthier. The reproduction is better. The vet bills go down. I mean, I had one guy that was using our product with dairy cows and an organic grass-fed dairy, and he hadn't called a vet in 10 years.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, it's just phenomenal stories like that. It just goes on and on. And then we have our mineral salt for the kitchen, the
culinary, right?
The Baja Gold sea salt.
Yeah.
And this is what the cattlemen were telling me I had to put it in the bag in order to, so their wives would use it in the kitchen.
Yeah.
So
sprinkle it on a good steak.
Oh, absolutely, yes. Yeah. Amazing what it does for steak.
That's awesome.
And then this is the Soleil that I created probably about 15 years ago. We call it liquid ocean minerals. And this one, it has a dropper, and you just put 4 or 5 drops under your tongue after you brush your teeth at night and in the morning. And it's antibacterial for the gums, and then it goes directly into the mucous membrane, so you're getting those minerals right into the bloodstream immediately. Yeah. So this is the one that I've used for human health. And then this is one that we've come up with just this last year. It's called Baja Boost. And this I've started using, and we use it before we work out and after. Yeah. And the reason we kind of went this direction was I had a professional football player that lives in my neighborhood, and he started taking the 1 teaspoon in a gallon of water of the Baja Gold and then drinking that after he worked out. And he told me it reduced his period from his pain period from 3 days to 1 day.
Oh, wow.
After his workout, his post-workout period. So we've been incorporating this, and I use this after I work out every day, and I take a shot before and a shot after, and I can tell you that I just don't feel, my body isn't stressed.
Yeah, it's not sore.
Yeah, I don't feel pain. I don't feel like muscular pain. So it's all about energy. It's all about electronics, and these 92 minerals and trace elements, they are electronic. I mean, sodium, when you look at our bodies are 60% water. That water is a saline solution.
Yep.
It's full of potassium. It's full of calcium. It's full of sodium. It's full of chloride. One thing I want to point out is that in the uterus, the embryonic solution that we are in while we're before we're born, they say that we go through 10 million years of evolution in 9 months. That is seawater. That's a saline solution that we have gills, we have a tail, we have webbed feet, everything. We go through the whole process, and it's all in a saline solution.
Yeah.
Our blood is basically diluted seawater. I mean, this is a key to life. The sea is the key to life.
So even like I know I get cramps a ton from working out and whatever, and just becoming dehydrated and all that, and trying to have that balance. Do you find that don't get dehydrated, you don't have cramps? I mean,
oh, absolutely. Yeah, I had an Olympic athlete, Bobby Williams, a wrestler, call me probably about 6 months ago, and he had been somebody told him about this, and he works out every day, really hard. Yeah. He said he feels the most hydrated that he's ever felt in his life. So I think there's definitely something to hydration and having the right minerals and trace elements in the solution that you're drinking. I mean, working in the summer, just if you work outside or whatever, you put a teaspoon of the Baja Gold in a gallon of water and drink it. It's mineralized water. It's like people are going to the grocery store and buying alkaline water.
Yeah.
Make your own alkaline water. You know,
Oh, I'm going to do it tomorrow before I go to the gym. I'll put it in my, definitely.
Absolutely. I mean, it's the best thing you could possibly do.
Well, I mean, I think I really, you know, when we talked about it, you know, I wanted you to kind of tell your story and what the products were, because I think it's important for people to kind of understand, you know, the closest you can get to nature and what the natural state is probably always good. And you know, we're definitely not physicians here, but I mean, your background and you know, the passion towards it, and some of I saw your garden on one at you. I don't know if it's gardens outside your house or whatever, yes. But you were kind of, I don't know, doing a video or showing, and I mean, I say that it looks pretty good. Yeah. it looked like it was flourishing. So I have several people that I definitely know. I'm going to get them some of this. So, like, what would you tell our audience? Anything else? We talked a little bit about health. Obviously agriculture, what the benefits of it are, which make a lot of sense. And, you know, Himalayan salt, we didn't do this for any particular reason, but that's really on the up. You know, more and more people are telling me, hey, you know, take some Himalayan salt, put it in your water. Like, that's been more and more. So it's interesting. I'm interested to really try that and use it. I'll let everybody know on the next podcast if my cramps are gone away and my, you know, I'm not as dehydrated.
Well, magnesium, it's a magnesium deficiency, and for a lot of reasons. I mean, I think in our bodies, if we get too much of one element, it can block the uptake of another. It's all about balance, and I think that's what this does, is just puts everything back in balance. And once you get once you get that happening, I mean, you can if you drink a lot of beer, you drink, you know, alcohol, it blocks the uptake of magnesium. You get cramps. Right. You know, I mean, but if you're leading a healthy lifestyle, then just get it in balance, and the cramps won't be there.
So you're telling me I got to cut back on my alcohol?
Well, I mean, if you or take more magnesium.
Nah, I don't drink that.
Drink some pickle juice.
That's right, pickle juice. That's awesome. Yeah. Well, any like so. Rob has been gracious enough. He's if you're interested in this, which I think, you know, I'll tell you guys on the next podcast, because I do what I say I'm going to do. Rob's been generous enough to give a promo code, and it's called Salty MF Pod, right? Yep. All caps. So where does someone go and find it? Just easy for them to find it. I know it's on Amazon. You can get it at several stores we talked about, but like, where's the easiest way where they could just go to a website or?
Well, that would be SeaAgri.com, SeaAgri, 2 A's, and Baja Gold Salt Co, CO.com. Yeah. And that is where the promo code would work. Okay. I don't think it would work on Amazon.
All right. Well, that you heard it, guys. So get out there and definitely try that out. So
get salty.
Get salty. This is we were not salty enough. We had to get the Salt Man on the show, and Rob is a great human being, a good guy. Tell people, I always meet people that I'm interested in and are good people, and I see the way you live. What's your secret to a happy life? Because you're driven, you're at it, you're going at it, you still have passion. What's Rob Cain's secret to a happy, long life? Other than the sea salt, other than the Baja, but what's your secret? Give somebody a secret.
Well, just decide what your mission in life is and go for it. Yeah. Go for it all out. Give it everything you've got, and life will be good. You know, and do good for other people. Yeah. I mean, that's, you know, my life has always been one of service. Yeah. My favorite song is Bob Dylan, "Everybody's Got to Serve Somebody." Yeah. You know, and that's what life is all about for me.
I love it. I love it.
The better your service is, the more just the goodness comes back to you.
Yeah. Well, you're a good guy, and we like good people on this show, and you know, check it out, guys. I'm going to try some of the products. I'll come back and give everybody kind of a update on them. But Rob's a good guy. Anybody that spends 50 years of their life, half a century, for all you kiddies out there that are still in their 20s and 30s and 40s, that's freaking amazing. So, Rob, we really appreciate you being on the Salty MF Go podcast. You've done a great job. Salty Nation, get out there and add some salt to that breakfast, workout, whatever it is. We'll see you next week. Let's go.